A lot of my monsters come from medieval bestiaries, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this a few times, especially in the Cedric series. And one of the interesting ones when I was researching chimeras, because I kind of like the idea that it's no secret, even in the blurb, that Cedric himself is an abomination. Dark magic created what he is, and he's not happy about it. He hates himself for it. Other people are like, about it. But of course, the sorceress, Morrigan, she's going to create other abominations, right? So she has a pack of chimera that are hunting things down and all that great stuff. But there's a moment where I introduce a vulture-like creature. It's like half vulture, half dragon, called a Heliodromos. And it was just interesting because all I can imagine is during the medieval times, for this to be listed, it must have been like a massive falcon or condor of some kind that scared the cheeses out of people. Cheeses, lots of cheeses. Enough that they would draw and warn other travelers in the medieval bestiaries about. So here's that little snippet where I add this creature in my story. This is in the first book. He broke into a deep, massive howl that knocked the wind out of the lungs of those near him. Barking and howling rang out in response as the ground shook from the massive shudder of the pack moving toward Morrigan's castle. Angeline could not cover her ears hard enough to keep the noise from deafening her. She felt the nerves in her body tighten and twist across her spine and joints as she looked out over the surges of fur. The sight was unholy and picking up speed. Breaking her eyes off the pack beside them, she looked across the ever-shortening gap to the horde of Morrigan's army and castle. The chimeras of hundreds of years of magically made monsters stood firm, waiting to meet their onslaught. One of the vulture-like creatures, with features of a lion and the size of a dragon, called a Heliodromos, broke from its circling above the castle. It dove across a section of the pack. The screeching thudded through their chests as it ran its jaws and claws in a line before them, like plowing a field. A fountain of blood sprayed up into the air, a red curtain waving in the wind. Angeline watched in horror as the other Heliodromos followed suit. Blood misted the air all around them. She could feel spots of cold and warm speckle across her skin as they passed the devastated areas. Burying her face into Cedric's leather tunic, she hid from the gore that painted the sunny skies like a million sparkling rubies. Feeling no fear from him was the only comfort she had in the chaos, her shield against all the monsters of life. So, if you want to explore some really cool monsters, definitely pick up Cedric the Demonic Knight. I take very big pride. I put in familiar stuff and unfamiliar stuff constantly throughout the series, and I try to double down on certain mythologies with each book. But we'll talk more about that later. So grab a copy today at my TikTok shop or even on my website.